on a big scale property like a Yahoo size, what we found to be the most successful, in all honesty, at big scale, selling big ad deals like a Yahoo size deals, is what we called shoulder content. So we had Yahoo Music, we had a huge critical mass of an audience there. We did Nissan Live Sets. It was a humongous ad deal for Yahoo. It was fantastic content. The users loved it. We got great big bands in there, and we were able to drive traffic into there through all those mechanisms we had at our disposal at Yahoo. So we delivered, we had a hand raiser module there for Nissan. They apparently could trace that back to actual car sales on the lot, which was amazing. And it was successful all the way around. When we've done shows, Webisode shows, even on Fancast, we did one, we kind of promoted one with the WB. They did a music show, and I can't think of the name of it right now. It was by the producer of the OC, had a great, sexy cast. And we tried to promote the heck out of it, and it was really difficult. Right now it was. People were looking for those familiar show brands, and they were really, using online video and sites like Fancast for kind of catching up with the shows and brands they were already engaged with. What I always have felt like is if you can create a site that has a niche audience like a Break, you can put shows there. I always would tell people, they'd come to me with all these show ideas, and I said, man, if I had a great science fiction area on Yahoo Movies, and I had 3 million users there, and I launched a science fiction show right there where they're kind of coming to see all these Avatar trailers and that, I could get the right amount of people there to make that successful. But you have to have the audience, I think, kind of already.
Why hasn't it worked? Because they've tried it again and again and again, and some of these shows are quite good. And they're not bad. They just never create.
Well, define work. I mean, right.
It does work. But I mean, so in Yahoo scale, that's what I'm saying. In Yahoo scale, in Fancast scale, when we're looking at the numbers against a Family Guy or a CSI,
or must-see TV, any kind of must-see TV.
It doesn't work in that sandbox. It has not worked yet that I've seen.
I think it's the
branding.
Use the
microphone.
People say that they're not tuning into networks, but that they're turning into shows. But the fact is, the networks and the big media companies give the imprimatur of quality, and for good or bad. I'm sure there's fantastic content in a number of places, but I think it's that sort of curation or filter that the users need. So if there was a media site that was pushing new content, I think it would be a different story. I mean, when I was at FIM and at MySpace, we had the same challenges when we would launch Webisodes. Yes, we could push a lot of traffic to it, and they did really well. But I think we lack that sort of big brother. This is good content. You should watch it. Check it out.
But even the Webisode.
But most TV shows fail, so that argument kind of goes away. I mean, it's not. There's by no means are they the arbiters of great content. I think, Jim's shows have hundreds of thousands of users that watch a week. Is that not working? Digital cable channels don't have shows.
We're talking about different.
It's totally different scale.
Right, absolutely.
Anthony, could you talk about? I know.
Well, we've experimented with what we call web originals, and what we have found, in fact, look back 3 years ago, we produced actually some great content, such as Clark and Michael, where we did with Michael Cera and others. And the challenge we've always had in terms of producing these things is that it's difficult to get through the noise, and there's more and more noise that's online now because anyone with a video camera can actually upload video. And when we do get into it, what we found, the shows that actually do the best are the ones that actually are show extensions of existing television shows, because we already spend a boatload of money to push that brand. Otherwise, I think for us, what we found from our own experience at least is that it's if you're trying to create a new show with its own name, it's an uphill battle.
But I would argue that because when they go to CBS and they're looking at Clark and Michael or CSI, they're going to watch CSI, right? Versus, if we highlight something or feature on Break, a million people probably will sample that and watch it. And
well, look, it's all about what you consider a show. I mean, this is not one of our shows, but I will tell you there is a show out there that's on twice a week that gets 2 million views per episode, and nobody here knows what this show is, but it is.
Jim, illuminate us.
Okay, it's called Equals 3. And does anybody know Equals 3?
No.
Okay, go to YouTube and search on Equals 3. It's a show. There is a real guy behind it. He does an awesome job. And like our shows, the stuff that we do that get hundreds of thousands of views per episode, it starts with somebody that they're passionate about and a community around it. And that community and that individual can drive real viewership. And there are a ton of folks that are doing this and doing it well, but it's not what you would consider a show that you'd watch on CBS or Comcast or Fox, but it's a show.
Having said that, going back to your original question, I think we're doing a fair amount of experimentation. Probably the most exciting piece is the original production group. And we're doing a lot more original production, and we're trying to create characters and brands. And I think to the point about Ben Silverman and Electus and what they're doing with College Humor.
Yeah,
I mean, I think.
What's your end goal, though? That's what I'm curious. Is it to make it a web-based show, or is it? I mean,
well,
I
I think our end goal is, I think, in 3 or 4 years, if you believe there'll be any level of convergence, to ultimately have our brand be a stop that you'll go to instead of relevant male television brands today.
So on a TV.
On that screen that somebody envisions having in their living room. But I think in the meantime we have a great way to experiment, a great way to create content, create personalities, and I think that's the value that we can do on the web. And I think if we have this conversation in 5 years, who knows what that will be, but for sure. We're doing well enough doing it today.
I think one thing that we haven't had a chance to talk about, and we're running out of time, is the whole notion of the syndicated world that we live in. I mean, it's not a destination world. I mean, if you're the Wall Street Journal or All Things D or CBS.com, that's fine. But I think that a lot of video, most video, I would think, is consumed through search, through social, through referrals. And I think that that the idea of creating a destination-themed original webisode place is kind of gone by the wayside, I think.
You know who the most successful people are right now, I think, that are publishing video on the net are the video bloggers on YouTube. There's a class of probably 20 people on YouTube that are consistently pulling down, I would think, about 30 to 50,000 a month off just their YouTube ad rev share. I know
this
that
is
for
like
a fact.
the hug guy, the
Nigga
voice
Higa,
guy.
All these people you've never heard of.
Fred, we've heard of him.
It's kind of a complete polar opposite to what you're observing, which is it has to be this high-level branded stuff. I mean, there's a desire for authenticity within at least that community. I think that's getting lost. I actually think there's a whole class of publishers, in particular on YouTube, who are flying below the radar, and they're the ones that are actually killing. I can think of Machinima, for example, is another good publisher that they probably do, I think, about 100 million views a month.
It's a scale issue.
But the scale issue, right?
That's
You just do the math on 30,000 a month times 20 people. That's what, $6 million?
$30,000.
$30,000. That's just their crappy ad rev share.
Let's not do it back and forth, please.
Yeah.
No,
that's just
I'm
one
not saying
guy.
it's not successful. I'm just saying that's small.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
but cumulatively, those guys are going to be the guys.
Let's, I know.
Hey, I'm being interrupted. Maybe.
Go ahead. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I think he's saying it's not going to pay for the town cars of the CBS executives.
Yeah.
You know what? Everybody laughed at the early cable co's. Everybody laughed at the early cable startups because they were perfectly adapted for the medium, and it's really easy to do. And
That's fair.
I love where I am right now. I just really love it because this is where the new opportunity, the new value will get
I think his
created.
point is, where does Fred go? Does Fred
Fred's
go anywhere
Fred's a
or
kid, but
just
I'm
be
running
Fred?
a channel. I'm running a channel.
No, that's
so,
what I mean, but
yeah.
where do you evolve Fred to?
You don't have to.
Nowhere.
You can create your own business and your own syndication, your own content. That's what I'm doing. I mean, whatever. I run around with a video camera and I upload very inexpensively, and I have fantastic sponsors, and I work very hard at it. But and I'm creating a brand, and I have viewers, and it's fine. And but I think that for the big media companies, that there are other challenges. I think what I was talking about is that the theatrical sort of high concept Hollywood original programming or entertainment programming that's sort of these webisodes, I think it's very difficult for them.
But just like cable, eventually they licensed. I mean, what was it? Showtime ran porn for the longest time. I mean, eventually they come around to it. They start developing their own content. That's just where we are in the evolution.
I think that actually that's a really good point. I was one of those cord cutters. For about a year and a half, I actually didn't have cable or satellite. And I have to admit, the online experience is pretty abysmal. And it's very difficult to find the right type of content. It's very difficult to come home at night and just turn something on and just have a steady stream of information. I think that the future for a lot of these content creators is creating more of a dynamic feed that's really built around your personal desires, and you'll watch a 30-minute episode of something, and then a 2-minute clip will come in between. That's from one of these small syndicated content producers, and because you'll be syndicating across a feed that's targeted to a specific audience, you'll be able to get a small percentage of a larger piece of content. Today, I think online video is broken because of that. I think the passive experience is just not working. I will say that PBS.TV doing a phenomenal job building a marvelous business.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I kind of started a riot with the Yahoo example, but I mean, so believe me, I don't think these are mutually exclusive. I think the challenge that comes in with a big media company like a Yahoo is you have to pay the bills, and inevitably the original content is linked to an advertiser, and then there's expectations around how many views there's going to be and the ad dollars delivered, and it's really hard to drive the scale. The YouTube model is amazing because it's all relative, right? He could make 10 grand, he could make 50 grand. It's all goes just up with his success. I think so. That's why when you look at a Yahoo sandbox or a Fancast sandbox or perhaps a CBS one, it's just a little bit harder. But I mean, I'm rooting for it. I've been a huge supporter. I've tried to promote, many web original shows in the 10 years I've been doing this. And a lot of it started in the music space, and we've had some success and hits and misses. And I think there's definitely going to be room for both, and people vote with their eyeballs at the end of the day.